Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Dodgers Dawgs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, my name is Austin Brubaker. It is an absolute privilege to be your host this evening here on Dodgers Daily. Absolute joy to be able to do this every single time that we are able to be here with you guys and just interact with you guys as fellow Dodgers fans. Casey he stated on the show this morning or this afternoon, whenever it got published, had stated that he is busy tonight. This is a big show, and we'll get into that in just a minute. He wasn't able to do, though, but he was able to upload a video earlier this afternoon talking about some of his thoughts in relation to Clayton Kershaw and everything with that aspect. Highly encourage you guys, either after the show, after the stream is done, or anytime that you're available, to listen to some of his thoughts with that. And we'll get into Clayton Kershaw in just a minute. He's not able to do the show tonight. This is a big show. This is a show that I wanted both of us to be able to be there, or some of the other Dodgers Daily hosts to be able to be here. But it's just going to be me tonight, and I couldn't be more privileged to be able to interact with you guys. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a reflective show as we get into a lot of talk, a lot of memories of Clayton Kershaw. I highly encourage you guys in the comments section. I think this can be a really fun exercise as Clayton Kershaw, and we'll get into the news in just a second, that he is retiring after the 2025 season. I want to hear some of your stories about Clayton Kershaw, and what do you remember most about him, and what have been some of the best highlights that you have seen, either from interacting with him, from watching him on TV, from going to specific games, to everything that he has as part of his life. What are some of your best memories, Clayton Kershaw-related memories? I'd be really curious to be able to see that, or just some highlights and stuff that you remember from the career of Clayton Kershaw. To start off the show, before we get into the Clayton Kershaw news and before we get into some of my thoughts in relation to that, let's talk about the state where the Dodgers are at. Last time I was on the show, it was on Monday. It was going into the series with the Philadelphia Phillies, and entering that series, that was really the last gasp of hope, assuming that there's no dramatic collapse from the Philadelphia Phillies over the next week and a half. That was the last hope for the Dodgers to be able to avoid the wild card round going into the postseason. The Dodgers fell 2-1 against the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies took that series, and the Dodgers needed a sweep in order to give themselves a chance to avoid the wild card round. It is inevitable that the Dodgers are going to be playing the postseason in the wild card round. You can have different discussions as far as whether that's going to be good, avoiding some of the rest, but that certainly was not the avenue that the Dodgers were hoping for. But they are still well in position, not only to make the postseason, but in a really solid position to be able to go and win the National League West. Currently, right now, the magic number to clinch a postseason spot, I believe, is just at 1. Meaning if the Dodgers win today, they will be headed to the postseason, and they will be playing the wild card round, really regardless of what happens. In addition, the magic number to win the division is currently at 6. Meaning that the Dodgers need a combination of either 6 Dodgers wins or Padres losses. If that total adds up to 6, the Dodgers are winners of the National League West, and they will be playing the 6th seed in the National League wild card round, which right now the Mets are in position, the Reds, the Diamondbacks, and the Giants are also vying for that position. With the Dodgers schedule, the Dodgers currently have San Francisco for 3 more, followed by they're playing in Arizona, and then closing out the season in Seattle. All teams that are fighting for a playoff spot, and in Seattle's case, really fighting for that playoff position. Right now, they're in a huge series. I believe it's right now against the Houston Astros for the American League West. So you enter into all of this, and then after everything that happened with the Dodgers and the Phillies series, right after that series, we get the news yesterday, and we get a press conference that Clayton Kershaw is going to be retiring after the 2025 season. And this, I think, was something that a lot of Dodgers fans were anticipating going into this season, or at least there was a good thought that this was going to be something that could potentially happen at some point relatively soon. With Clayton Kershaw, this is his 18th season at the big league level. He is 37 years old right now. He's starting to get up there. He still is having a lot of success this year, and we'll get into some of the numbers in just a second, as well as my personal history watching Clayton Kershaw and where a lot of my memories and stuff come up with him. But Clayton Kershaw is having a lot of success this season, and as he started to have a lot more success, there became questions as far as whether or not he'd want to stick around for a little bit longer. But after he started to get some of these accomplishments and was having a lot of success, he reached 3,000 strikeouts this year. He was having a healthy, successful season, a lot more healthy than I think most Dodgers fans probably anticipated him being going into the season. If you would have told me going into the season that Clayton Kershaw would have gotten 20 starts for the Dodgers, that would have been really surprising coming into the season injured and knowing what all the stuff that he's been through over the past couple of years dealing with a lot of injuries. But he's gone out there and been really successful. And if you look at just the overall career with Clayton Kershaw, and these are going to be the accolades when Clayton Kershaw makes it to Cooperstown, the first time that he's put on the ballot. I think it's 2031, something like that. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because of his insane, incredible numbers that he has put up, and still has 2 starts to be able to add to these accolades as well. Just looking at the overall record for Clayton Kershaw, currently right now, a 254 career earned run average. If you did look at ERA plus, which is a statistic provided by Baseball Reference, which intends to, like WRC plus, put it on a scale starting at 100 being league average, anything above that being better, anything below that being worse. It's a 154 ERA plus in his career. That is one of the highest ERA pluses across the history of Major League Baseball, particularly when you're talking about starting pitchers. This matches some of the likes of Pedro Martinez is somebody that has similar, if not the exact same ERA plus. It is unbelievable what he's been able to do. Obviously, the 3,000 strikeouts, 3,039 strikeouts, 222 wins, which you can have debate as far as how valuable wins are, but in the scope of Major League Baseball, getting over 200 wins is incredibly impressive in the game of baseball that it is currently played. You talk about the accolades that Clayton Kershaw has put up, his 3 Cy Young awards that he currently has, and an MVP award back in 2014. His Cy Young awards being obviously 2011, 2013, and 2014. All of those are remarkable, and really, especially that stretch with Clayton Kershaw. If you look at his 2011 to 2017 run, which you can look at the entire span of Clayton Kershaw's career, and it's phenomenal. But I want to specifically focus on 2011 to 2017 with the numbers right now. During that tenure, in 207 starts that he had, he went up there and put up, just looking up the ERA, make sure that I get this correct, 2011 to 2017, that span, put up an ERA of 2.10 in 207 starts. That's a 47 wins above replacement WAR value right there, which is already, with that total right there, is getting you fairly close to being Hall of Fame caliber. It's a 179 ERA plus during that time period. Just unbelievable stuff during that stretch with 3 Cy Young awards, with an MVP, arguably, and you look at that stretch, every single year, Clayton Kershaw finished top 5 in Cy Young voting. Insane what he was able to do then, and then you look at the rest of his career. I mean, you go look up and down all of his seasons that he put up right there. His ability to be able to prevent runs is up there with some of the greatest in baseball history. Not just greatest in Dodgers history, which he certainly is one of the greatest Dodgers pitchers in the history of the game of baseball. It is absolutely unbelievable what he's able to put up, not just in comparison to the Dodgers, but in comparison to the history of the game of baseball. You are talking about one of the absolute legends and greatest pitchers in the game. An absolute person that's going to be remembered for this era of baseball in the starting pitching. It's going to be him, it's probably going to be Verlander, it's going to be Scherzer as the three guys that defined this era of Major League Baseball. It is absolutely well-deserved. All of the accolades that he's gotten, everything that he has done, and it is, for Dodgers fans, been an absolute privilege to be able to watch the entire career of Clayton Kershaw in a Dodgers uniform. That in and of itself is a rarity across the game of baseball. But to see him grow, to see him develop, and really from the offset, from the start, dominate as a pitcher as soon as he entered the league in 2008 was absolutely unbelievable. Now, this is where we're going to divert a little bit into my own personal experiences, because if you listen to the show this morning or this afternoon that Casey was able to post, he talked a little bit about a different aspect. Now, for each Dodgers fan, their experience with watching Clayton Kershaw is going to be a little bit different. Now, for most people that are in the California area, I'm assuming a lot of those interactions are probably fairly similar, meaning that there is a lot of time that you got to see invested in watching Clayton Kershaw at the big league level. And that was an absolute blessing, because you got the ability to be able to watch one of the greatest pitchers of all time every single 5-day stretch that he was able to go out there and pitch. For me personally, and this is where it's going into my own memories of Clayton Kershaw, if you have any knowledge about this show, or at least any knowledge about me when I talk about a little bit some of my backstory and where I'm from, I do not live in the California area, which means that much of Clayton Kershaw's legacy, meaning the time that he got to spend pitching greatness in Dodger Stadium, I did not get a chance to be able to witness much of that, at least live. I certainly was a massive baseball fan growing up, especially during the early time period of Clayton Kershaw's tenure, and really throughout his entire career. Been following along closely with the game of baseball, watched highlights all the time, and got to see some of the greatness of Clayton Kershaw. But my experience is very different than a lot of Dodgers fans, meaning that I did not get to watch each and every single 5 days just how good he actually was. But my experience with Clayton Kershaw is a little bit different, because I had the absolute privilege to be able to see him before this time in LA, meaning that Clayton Kershaw was able to debut in 2008. Now, I'll pull this out right now, and I'll show you guys this right here. So this right here is actually my first Loons hat that I have, and we don't need to hold on to that very long. So that hat, it's a little bit old. It's signed by the legendary Louis Loon, mascot for the Loons, absolute legend. You should go get your own autograph. Next year's season tickets are on sale right now, loons.com. But that hat was given me in 2007. And our family had just moved back to the state of Michigan the year prior, got to experience the 2006 Detroit Tigers make a run to the World Series, and got absolutely invested in the game of baseball. And then 2007 happens, and in the city that I was living in at the time, Midland, Michigan, the Loons moved to town. And the Loons were affiliated with the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's the first team that came into the city of Michigan. We had close family friends. Shout out to my dad's mentor, Jerry Martin, who got us tickets to the Great Lakes Loons, got us season tickets to the Loons. And for a fan who was 7, almost 8 years old at the time, I got a chance to be able to watch up close and personal the game of baseball. And 2007 was the first year of the Great Lakes Loons, and the first ever pitch thrown by a Great Lakes Loons pitcher was Clayton Kershaw. 2007, April 5th, 2007, the Loons pitched on the road in South Bend against, at the time, the South Bend Silverhawks, and Clayton Kershaw was the first Loons pitcher to throw off of the mound. And I had the absolute privilege, not knowing the significance, not knowing the importance of what I was witnessing as somebody who was just 7 to 8, and as somebody who didn't know what would to become of Clayton Kershaw. But the first Loon to ever go out there and throw a pitch, the first one to go out there and make his big league debut, the first Loon to go out there and pitch in the postseason, I had the privilege to be able to watch. I don't remember how many starts I got to watch. He pitched 20 games during the tenure of his tenure with the Loons. And I don't remember any specific direct interaction with him, but I remember the stories, and I remember just rare glimpses of him going out there and pitching for Great Lakes. Actually, that's going to be something. Let's go ahead and pull this up in just a second. We'll go ahead and play some of this video.
Legendary curveball.
Yeah, this is right
After
here.
After being taken with the number 7 overall
MiLB
pick
Pipeline.
in 2006,
this is
you lit
Clayton
things up
Kershaw
with the great
pitching in a Loons uniform. That is some of my experiences, at least initially, with him, and it's especially with me, somebody who, and I got to turn that off because I get audio in my ear right now. As somebody who grew up with the game of baseball and who had the absolute privilege to be able to see Clayton Kershaw back in 2007 before he was debuted. Obviously, me, my dad, we started following along with him throughout his entire career and what he's able to do, because this is somebody that you got to see in an area that most people did not get the privilege to be able to see him at. It's been an absolute amazing journey to be able to see his tenure across the game of baseball, specifically in his time in Los Angeles. 2 World Series championships, 3 Cy Young awards, and the Most Valuable Player award, an ERA of 2.54 across his career, and now he gets one more opportunity in Dodger Stadium during the regular season to go out there and pitch and give back to the fans of Los Angeles. The postseason, as far as the rotation, remains up in the air. As far as the role, as far as what Clayton Kershaw is going to do, I don't know exactly what that's going to do for Clayton Kershaw, or what he's going to be able to give, or what role specifically the Dodgers are going to be able to give him. And it sounds like there's going to be, probably after this, or at least this is just my guess, one start on the road for Clayton Kershaw, and then his role becomes completely up in the air. So while there is still at least one more opportunity to be able to watch Clayton Kershaw in Dodger Stadium, it remains an absolute blessing to be able to do so. Dating back from his time when Casey dated it back from the area that he was able to grow up in, and hearing about him. And I had a chance, without even realizing, watching greatness at the time, be able to see him the year before he was able to grow up and develop and become the dominant face of pitching for this era of baseball. Clayton Kershaw more than well deserves retirement, more than well deserves time to be able to go out there and spend with his family. And for what he's done for the city of Los Angeles, what he's done for the community, what he's done for baseball, it's been an absolute honor to be able to watch Clayton Kershaw. So, my question for you guys, and this is where we're going to go to the comments section in just a minute. I want to hear some of your Clayton Kershaw stories. For me, it was back when I was young, back 7, 8 years old, being able to watch Clayton Kershaw when he was pitching at the minor league level. Some of the memories that absolutely stand out for me. I know for a lot of you guys, it's probably a little bit different. And I want to hear some of those stories today here in the comment section. So I encourage every single one of you guys who's able to join live during the show today, or if you're watching this on the back, I highly encourage you guys to enter it into the comments section. I'd be happy to be able to dive in to each one of those as well, and be able to just hear about your memories with Clayton Kershaw. But let's see who's actually able to make it in the chat tonight, and let's get some comments going on here. CNAV, thank you very much for joining us. Good evening, Dodgers Dawgs. I'm going to watch tonight's games with my buddy. We watched Clayton Kershaw's first start together in 2008. That's awesome. And those memories that you have with other people in particular, for me, it's a lot of the memories that I had. I mean, went to each one of those games with my dad, and seeing all of the growth that he's had and be able to reminisce about the stories and the history is something that is really awesome for you with your buddy. I think that is absolutely awesome. History Man, thank you very much for joining us. Go Dodgers and God bless. Daniel Berry Sports, highlights is also in the chat. Showtime LA, hey Austin, with all the outfielders in the system, Hope, Josue De Paula, Sirota, Tibbs, Davilan, and Co. Do you think we could see some trades, or do you just play the numbers game knowing the hit rate on prospects is around 30% or so? That's an interesting question. I'm sure that's going to be something that we're going to very highly be paying attention to during the course of the offseason, because you didn't even mention all the guys right there. You didn't mention Earhart. You didn't mention Kendall George. You didn't mention Chris Newell, who's had some success this year, or or I don't even see a Quintero as part of that group. The list is absolutely massive as far as the number of Dodgers outfielders. The good thing is they don't have to make any decisions with most of those guys, because most of those guys will not. In fact, I don't think any of those guys will be Rule 5 eligible for the Rule 5 draft. I think the only exceptions might be a Damon Keith and a Chris Newell, which probably won't get picked up, just at least from my mindset right now is what I anticipate them doing. But there's a lot of decisions that you're going to have to make in trying to fit playing time with each one of these guys. There's a good chance that you could see potentially some moves, but I won't anticipate anything overly major, obviously dependent on the state of the big league club. But that is something, especially as we get into the offseason, that we will definitely be looking at and definitely be covering. CNAV, Ryan Ward is sitting in AAA with 36 jacks. Why don't we trade him? He's just going to walk and LA gets nothing. Head scratcher. It's because, one, I think it provides I actually think this is a good thing for Ryan Ward, that he isn't getting traded, nor is it something where the Dodgers are picking up his contract. I'm at peace with this. I think Casey's at peace with this, and I hope Ryan Ward is at peace with this. After the season, Ryan Ward is going to be a free agent, a minor league free agent, which means that he can sign with any team in any league that is going to give him the best opportunity. And if the Dodgers were to select his contract and become up the big leagues, he would be under control of the Los Angeles Dodgers for the next 3 years, in which case he would be racking up more home run crowns in Oklahoma City, which he doesn't deserve. When it comes to the aspect of free agency, I think this is a good choice, because I think this gives him an opportunity to sign elsewhere, whether this is in America or, as Casey has suggested, perhaps it's someplace overseas that he can go out and play and make a good earning over there. He absolutely deserves it. As far as the Dodgers and the aspect of trading him, this could be something to where they're doing it as a favor for Ryan Ward, because being stuck in AAA could have been the fate of Ryan Ward in another organization if he decided to sign with another organization. And they wanted to provide him with the maximum flexibility. Also, it's one of those things where, especially with the Dodgers, and with him hitting so well at AAA, and the Dodgers insistent on not playing him, becomes a question mark as far as how much the Dodgers would actually get for a player like a Ryan Ward. So, Ryan Wardo, absolutely phenomenal. I truly, truly, truly wish him a lot of success and plenty of opportunities, because he absolutely deserves that. And I think he's counting down the days, because he's got 3 more games left with Oklahoma City, 3 more days left with the Dodgers organization, and then as soon as the season is over, he will be a minor league free agent, and he can go wherever he wants and get a true opportunity that was not going to be available for him in the Dodgers organization. Truly, truly, truly have loved having him as part of the organization, but can't wait for him to actually get an opportunity. History man, hopefully the Mariners sweep the Astros. That's absolutely right. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. CNAV says 5 years after retirement, 2030 Hall of Fame. It's either 2030, 2031. Going to be a little bit before Clayton Kershaw is going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, but he absolutely is going to get there first time he is in there. And especially with, as Historyman said, hopefully the Dodgers sweep the Giants. One more opportunity for Clayton Kershaw to go out there and in Dodger Stadium during a regular season game beat the San Francisco Giants, and do it while the Giants are currently trying to stay alive for a postseason berth. The Giants have to win at the very, very least 2 out of the next 3 games, but very likely have to take the next 3 games against the Dodgers in order to give themselves any sort of hope. And for Clayton Kershaw to play a role and to helping eliminate the Giants would just be one added bit of motivation to make this night even more special than what it actually is. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's see. Too bad this one is on Apple TV. They did the LA market dirty. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, and I wish that, especially for this specific instance, this specific occasion, this seems like one of those moments that you want everyone in the Los Angeles market to be able to watch and to have it as widespread as you possibly can be. Have it on MLB Network. Have it on all these different platforms. That just isn't the way I think that the contract is structured, and it's not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of that. CNAV pointed out some of the additional numbers. Clayton Kershaw, 222 wins to 96 losses, only 96 losses. 2.54 ERA, 1.02 walks and hits per innings pitched. This is in a span of 2,844 and 2/3 innings, 2,039 strikeouts, 3 Cy Young awards, 1 MVP, 2-time World Series champion. What a career it has been for Clayton Kershaw, and it's not over yet. Clayton Kershaw is starting for the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight. Let's see, history man. That was scheduled way in advance. There's no way of knowing that time of tonight's game, talking about Apple TV, would be as historic as it absolutely is. It's going to be something very much where Dodgers fans are going to miss Clayton Kershaw Day. Still wish there was some sort of exception for some type of rule like this to be able to get it for LA market, but totally get with the contract structure what it is. Let's see. Jeffrey Kershaw statue coming to Dodger Stadium. He is, if you're talking about Dodgers that deserve some sort of statue at Dodger Stadium, Clayton Kershaw is at the top of the list of a guy that deserves a statue at Clayton Kershaw. What is actually going to be of, what the actual pose is, I will let you guys, as people within that area that have had the opportunity to be able to see day in and day out Clayton Kershaw, I'll let that be something that you guys be able to decide what you think the most appropriate pose for him is. But it's something where Clayton Kershaw absolutely is and should get a statue at Dodger Stadium. How soon that'll be, not sure, but I hope it happens pretty soon because he absolutely deserves it. CNAV, I think it's in the Seattle. This is the last home start in the regular season. Yeah, there'll be one more start as well that will happen. Showtime LA, excited for the Loons to have Emil Morales, Zach Root, and Cam Leiter next year. Guessing on those last two, but I bet they start there. Yeah, that'll be another breakdown that we do during the course of the offseason where we'll talk about some of the guys that will be potentially on different rosters. Obviously, it's dependent on what the Dodgers do throughout the course of the offseason, but I think there's still is going to be some talent, still is going to be a lot of really good players, and especially with the influx of pitching that the Dodgers had during the draft, that really could be something to where it could be a little bit more of a strength for the Loons next season than what it was this past year. Let's see, continuing, CNAV, Tulsa is going to be crazy good next year. They're going to have a lot of players that are going to be really good. Yvette Wilkins, that gave me goosebumps that you were there for Kershaw's first pitch for the Loons. What a great memory. Thank you for sharing. I wasn't technically there in South Bend for that specific moment during the first ever Loons pitch. Clayton Kershaw pitched the first pitch for the Loons, but I was there for at least a couple, according to my dad, of Clayton Kershaw's starts back when I was 7, 8 years old in Midland, Michigan, when he was pitching for the Loons. Absolutely phenomenal to be able to have some of those memories that I can still have a little bit of Clayton Kershaw back then, and to be able to know the significance for an organization, for a little small town. I mean, you're talking about a town of 40,000 people and the middle of Michigan, far, far away from California, still being affiliated with the team that they were affiliated with in 2007. That is a rarity across minor league baseball to be affiliated with that long. It's the longest running tenured affiliate that the Dodgers have at the minor league level, and it dates back to the days of Clayton Kershaw, and to be able to hear and see him back then, absolutely phenomenal. To connect it to what we've seen today, to me becoming an absolutely crazy fan of the Great Lakes Loons, that has really helped improve my connection with the Dodgers organization, with a lot of you guys as well. Let's see, going into a couple more of these comments before we get into some additional Dodgers news. Right now, History Man, I think the Dodgers have a better chance at making another run to the World Series than they did a few weeks ago. Talking about the impact that a player like Clayton Kershaw, and doing it for Clayton Kershaw, could have for an organization. I think this could be something that could really help motivate the club to try to go out there and win a World Series, even more perhaps than what they had been previously. To do it for Kershaw in his last year would be an absolute special thing to be able to do. Let's see. CNAV says, I was there on opening day when Kershaw beat San Francisco 1-0, his only home run as a hitter. That is an absolute amazing memory, and I encourage you guys, continue to put in some of your Clayton Kershaw memories in the chat. I'd be more than happy to be able to read them off and talk about it. CNAV, please, Dodgers, do not sign an outfielder this offseason. We've got a ton of kids on the way up. Please don't block them. That's going to be an interesting conversation. And Showtime LA talks about it. I bet they will try to go for Kyle Tucker. This is going to be some of the talk. And after the Dodgers hopefully win the World Series, when the offseason starts, similar to what I did last year, I did a show called Welcome to the Offseason, and talking all about where the Dodgers are at. There's going to be a lot of talk about the state of the Dodgers. And it's not just going to be a state of just the guys at the big league level. It's also going to be a state of the minor league system, because moves that the Dodgers could make could impact what they do for the guys down at the farm, and the guys at the farm could impact some of the decisions that the Dodgers made. And certainly knowing the strength of where the minor league system is at, which happens to be with all of the outfielders that they have in the system, could impact some of the moves or some of the types of contracts that the Dodgers pursue during the offseason. Or perhaps they use the outfielders, they use the talent that they have in the minor leagues as leverage because of the depth, and because they potentially could fill that in with different players. For example, like Showtime LA, which will be a massive discussion and a massive debate that we'll have during the offseason as far as whether the Dodgers are going to and should pursue a Kyle Tucker. That's going to be a different debate going forward, and I look forward to being able to have that. Bruce Davis, thank you very much for joining us. Hello to you as well. CNAV, I loved when Kershaw was pitching to Madison Bumgarner on his last game as a Giant. Kershaw challenged him as a hitter with straight 91 mile per hour fastballs. Mad Bun lined out. Clayton Kershaw tipped his hat. Absolutely phenomenal to be able to hear about that. Let's see. Continuing on with some of these, I believe Kershaw was 54 in his MLB debut. I don't know exactly what his number was. Bruce Davis, what is the magic number for playoffs in the division? Good question. For the Dodgers right now, for the playoffs, the magic number is 1, meaning if the Dodgers win tonight, they, I believe, will clinch a playoff spot. I believe that is, I've done the math correctly with that, and I've seen that correctly. In addition, for the division, the magic number is 6, meaning a combination that adds up to 6 of Dodgers wins and Padres losses will win the division and will mean that the Dodgers are the 3 seed. Now, a fascinating conversation, and this kind of leads to a little bit of a debate. I know where I land on it, but I was kind of hoping that Casey would be on a show, and perhaps we will talk about it going into some type of show. I think there could be some type of argument. I don't think it's necessarily the great arguments, and I'll lay out the points afterwards. If the assumption is that the Dodgers are going to be in the wild card round, meaning that the Dodgers aren't going to get one of the top 2 seeds, almost assuredly the Dodgers are going to be in the playoffs unless they lose all of their games and one team wins the rest of their games that is part of the Reds, Diamondbacks, Giants type of group. unless that happens, which is unlikely, what seed would you actually want to be during the wild card round? Do you want to be the number 3 seed winning the National League West, or do you want to play the Cubs on the road? And the only question that I bring that up is, assuming that the Dodgers are the number 3 seed, which I hope that the Dodgers win the National League West and are the number 3 seed, because I think that gives you the better odds to go out there and win the wild card round, which needs to be the primary focus. If you get through the wild card round best 2 out of 3, you have to go to Philadelphia. Whereas, for example, and what's likely to be the playoff matchup between the Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres, the winner of that series heads to Milwaukee for a best 3 out of 5. So I think there could be conversation as far as, okay, what is the best matchup? Ultimately, I think the Dodgers are likely to have to go up if they are to advance far in the postseason and play against the Philadelphia Phillies at some point. I don't think it's something to where you just hope that one team is able to beat the Philadelphia Phillies, and that gives you the possibility of, in the National League Championship Series, if one of the Cubs or the Padres beats the Brewers in that best 3 out of 5, that the Dodgers would have home field advantage. I see that as the best path. That could lead to at least something of a little bit of interesting debate, but I think the most important and pressing thing is not just to beat the Padres so that the Dodgers can beat the Padres and win the National League West, but to ensure that you have home field advantage for the wild card, because a best 2 out of 3, any team can win a best 2 out of 3. That shortened sample size creates a lot of difficult dynamics as far as what actually is going to happen in that series. We've seen a lot of bad teams beat good teams in short series. Heck, the Pirates beat the Dodgers 3 straight. The Dodgers lost to the Angels in a 3-game series both times this year. So I think a lot of things can happen during that, but I think getting the wild card series in Dodger Stadium, knowing that it is a likelihood that you're going to have to face the Phillies at some point, is going to be the best case scenario. So it's up to the Dodgers to go out there, continue to win games, and hopefully win some of these games early so that you can set up your pitching exactly how you want it to be at the end of next week, and we'll see what happens from there. Get into a couple more questions on here. Can't wait for that show, Austin, talking about the debate with Kyle Tucker and whether or not the Dodgers should pursue him. That's a little bit of a different show. Is Roki ready to come out of the pen? It's a fascinating question, and it's one where I have very serious question marks on my end. Now, to be fair, I have not spent a whole lot of time with Roki Sasaki's outings, being able to watch that. From Casey's reporting, and Casey's, I think, a little bit more optimistic than what I am on the Roki Sasaki front. He's seen the past 2 outings that Roki Sasaki has had at the minor league level, in which case his velo has jumped up from what it was in the mid to upper 90s to being 100 in those occasions. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to go ahead and bring up what we had on the show last time. And this is actually something I was looking forward to, Casey and I being able to have this debate and discussion on the show, because this is the outlook for the postseason arms. Now, one bit of news today: Will Klein was recalled from AAA Oklahoma City, and Michael Kopech was just placed on the injured list, which is why you see 2 plus signs indicating Michael Kopech is currently injured. He, as far as the reports as what's going to happen with a Michael Kopech, I don't really know. The results on the field have been incredibly inconsistent. He's been really wild, and just things don't seem to be lining up really well for Michael Kopech right now. So the question mark becomes, how do you actually build out your postseason bullpen options? So the question becomes, with Roki Sasaki, is he going to be one of the guys that you want to rely upon in the postseason? I think in part can depend on what he's able to do over the next couple of outings. Is he able to maintain that fastball? And it's not just about fastball velo. I think this is a misconception that some people have about fastball. It's not just about how hard you're able to throw the fastball, but it's also about the shape that the fastball is able to go out and be. Because if it's a fastball, if it's 100 miles per hour, but it's just, there's not really a whole lot of movement, and the characteristics of that pitch aren't really good, it can get hit pretty hard. And I think that's what you saw some of, even though the velo was a little bit down with Roki Sasaki earlier in the season. Because let's remember with Roki Sasaki, during his early tenure with the Dodgers, it was a 4.72 ERA. Some of the underlying metrics were even worse than that earlier in the season with Roki Sasaki. And I hope that the cause of that, not because I want Roki Sasaki to be injured, but because I know that this was something that he ended up doing. I hope the cause of that was just injury, or it was something mechanical, and they've been able to, over the past couple of outings, which the velos trended up over the past couple of outings in comparison to what it was previously. I hope that it was the cause of what that is, and he was just able to find it and be able to go out there and be effective. But with Roki Sasaki, I don't know if I can completely trust him, because it's been extremely limited sample size with what he's been effective at the minor league level. And you have to do the math on the number of pitchers that you're actually going to have for October. So I talked a lot about this on the show on Monday, and this particularly has to do with the wild card round, because the Dodgers can carry up to 13 pitchers on their roster for the postseason. This does not include Shohei Ohtani. We're going to throw him out of this conversation that we have right now. But the Dodgers can have up to 13 pitchers on their roster. Now, typically in the wild card round, and this is looking back at the past year with some of the teams I was able to look at with their wild card rosters, the number of pitchers that they have for a best 2 out of 3 in the wild card round is typically around 11 to 12 pitchers, meaning other teams carry extra position players in comparison to what they do for longer series. Because over a span of only 2 or 3 games, you are unlikely to utilize all 13 pitchers that you have, and so to either create a better platoon matchup or a better pinch runner, or the likely case for the Dodgers as far as where they'd look to upgrade a better defense late in the game, they would rather have players that could help fill in that role, as opposed to the Dodgers go to the 8th or 9th reliever out of their pen. Likely wouldn't want to do that during a series, best 2 out of 3 series. They would likely want to go to some of the guys that are high leverage guys, the guys that they rely upon a little bit more, in which case they might opt to go for a little bit of a smaller pen or a smaller bullpen than what they have. So my theory as far as the Dodgers is that they are likely to go with a 12-man pitching staff for the wild card round, because of the history and trend with the game of baseball, with the fact that they will not need all of their starters to go in the wild card round. That is just my guess as far as what's going to happen. So what I've done for this exercise is I've gone ahead and let's just say for the fact, and now with Shohei Ohtani, if he was to start one of these games, that could be something to where you don't have to count him as part of this mix, in which case you could only have you could only bring 2 of the starters that you have into the wild card round. That certainly could be something as far as the strategy as far as the Dodgers go. But if this is the case, if they carry 3 starters as part of their mix, with Emmett Sheehan being a bullpen option in this case, because I think that is the most likely scenario that Emmett Sheehan is a bullpen guy during an October, and a very effective one at that. You have 3 pitchers. If you get up to 12, or if you're going into this, you're probably going to get up to 12. And so just going through the list of guys that are likely to make it, Emmett Sheehan, probably going to make it. Blake Trinan, very likely to make it. Edgardo Henriquez, we'll actually come back to him in just a second. Emmett Sheehan, Blake Trinan, very likely to make it. That gives you 5. Talking about some of the other guys, Alex Vesia, likely to make it. Anthony Banda, Jack Dreyer, also likely to make it. And then Tanner Scott, and this is not coming from how necessarily I would do it, but how I think the organization's going to do it. I think Tanner Scott is almost inevitable to be able to make it. That gives you 4 left-handed relievers out of the bullpen with just 2 righties. I think an Edgardo Enriquez, with the way that he has pitched, is very likely to make it. And that leaves you with likely 2 spots to come out of the bullpen that you could turn to. You only have 3 righties, so that gives you a argument to be able to have between a Kirby Yates, who has not pitched well, would not be at the top of my list, a Brock Stewart, who hasn't necessarily looked great, a Ben Kasparius, who probably in my head would probably be one of the ones that the Dodgers should turn to. I don't think it had to do with the talent level that Ben Kasparius has, that why he got sent down, but rather with the fact that they just kind of ran out of room, and they wanted to maybe perhaps give him a little bit of rest or get a little bit of additional experience, which means that if this is the case, and this is very likely going to be some of the limitations that they have, even when they get to additional rounds. Let's say that we agree that this is very likely or very well could be some of the bullpen with the Dodgers. I would trust a Ben Kasparius more than I would trust, because I haven't seen him this year, a Kyle Hurt, or more than what I've seen out of a Roki Sasaki this season, just because what I've seen out of a Roki Sasaki hasn't really been great. Then it becomes an argument as far as this, because once we get to the division round, it's very likely that Clayton Kershaw is going to be added to this mix, which means there's really only one more spot for the following guys: a Kirby Yates, Brock Stewart, Kyle Hurt, Roki Sasaki, or if you go down here, a Justin Robleski. I'm not including Andrew Heaney, although he very well could be part of this mix. Although, if you look at his season totals when he was in Pittsburgh, wasn't really great. Which means, who do you actually trust the most out of Justin Robleski, Roki Sasaki, Kyle Hurt, Brock Stewart, and Kirby Yates? If we can agree, or kind of agree, that this would probably be the guys that you would probably trust, who would be your next option that you would go to? And that becomes the difficult scenario and the difficult case with Roki Sasaki. Now, with Dave Roberts making some sort of statements, I think it's very likely that they are looking for additional guys that they can add on their mix, and certainly going to give a Roki Sasaki an opportunity because, for example, as Casey had mentioned during the show yesterday, a guy like Brock Stewart, while there were 0 earned runs on the board yesterday, did not take advantage, even though the inning should have been over, to finish the inning out well. Now, one advantage that Brock Stewart has is during his time when he has been healthy, particularly back with Minnesota, he was one of, if not the very best against right-handed hitters, and that is something that is very much needed out of the Dodgers bullpen, is the ability to be able to get right-handed hitters out. Anthony Banda, elite at getting lefties out. Jack Dreyer can get lefties out really well. Alex Vesia, great at getting lefties out. That's going to be really important, especially if they play the Mets, to getting guys like a Juan Soto out, to get a Jeff McNeil, or to force a Francisco Lindor to hit right-handed, to flip back and forth between that. But you need somebody to get somebody like a Pete Alonso out. And so is Brock Stewart going to be the best weapon that you can have because of his ability to go out there and get right-handed hitters out to be able to use in that sort of role? Or do you trust a Roki Sasaki based off of his 2 most recent Oklahoma City outings? Or is Brock Stewart even close to the guy that he was back earlier in the season in Minnesota? These are the difficult decisions that the Dodgers have to mull over. But ultimately, if you're talking about a bullpen, if you're talking about how I, at least as of right now, with the arms that are available, would probably construct the bullpen, this is fairly close to what it probably is and what it probably should be going into October. Obviously, you have the wild card of Shohei Ohtani, who has stated that he would be willing to play outfield if it becomes necessary to have him out of the bullpen. That could be very much be a wild card. Emmett Sheehan also being another one of those wild cards with how effective he has been this year, and also somebody that can get right-handed hitters out. A 596 OPS against right-handers this season. Very well could be somebody that can go ahead and be of great effect against them. So it becomes a battle really for one to two last couple of bullpen spots that the Dodgers would turn to. And do they want to turn to another rookie? Because as part of this mix, you have Emmett Sheehan, who is young. You have Jack Dreyer, who's in his rookie year. Edgardo Henriquez, rookie year. Ben Kasparius, rookie year as well. There's a lot of youth as part of this mix. A lot of youth that has earned this mix, and even though Justin Robleski's last outing was not good at all, before that, you would say that Justin Robleski has earned it. Has Roki Sasaki overtaken them? Has your lack of confidence wanted, and because of what you've seen in the past, want to give a player like Kyle Hurt the opportunity over some of these guys? Do you go with the experience, even though it has not been good, with Kirby Yates? Or do you go with somebody who was really good this season but hasn't shown it yet with a Brock Stewart? That is the decision that the Dodgers have to do pitching-wise. As stated, with the hitting-wise, if they go with just 12 players or 12 pitchers on their roster, they would go with 14 position players, which opens up potential avenues for a guy like a Hae-Sung Kim to be able to be added to the mix, or add a third catcher. Interesting debate going on a lot during Dodgers land right now, which I'm still very much torn over, and I think ultimately depends on the role of what is actually going on with Will Smith, is Ben Rortvedt versus Dalton Rushing, who should actually make the roster. Also, this could open up, especially if the Dodgers are more defensive focused, open up an opportunity for either a Justin Dean or an Alex Freeland or a Hae-Sung Kim to be part of the mix. I would not be shocked or completely surprised, especially in the wild card round, if any one of those guys are added, in particular for their late game defensive ability that they can add to the mix. Do not be surprised, completely surprised I should say, if Justin Dean is on the postseason roster, because that allows you to be able to substitute him in and have him play center field, potentially move Tommy Edman back to second, both great at their respective defensive positions, and then have the ability to be able to substitute a Michael Conforto and a Teoscar Hernandez and have a really solid outfield of Alex Call, Justin Dean, and Andy Pages. Or potentially with a Hae-Sung Kim, putting him at second base, or Alex Freeland at second base, and having a Call, Edman, Pages outfield late in the games, especially with the Dodgers not really going with a lot of pinch hitting or platooning, or not quite as much with the stars that they have in the offense. When it comes to the pitching side, while there's a lot of guys and there's a lot of question marks that the Dodgers have, and perhaps as part of this mix, and I don't think this is going to be the avenue that the Dodgers go down, because if the Dodgers get past the wild card round, which is their ultimate hope, they would get one day off and immediately go to the next round. I don't think it's likely you add Clayton Kershaw as part of this bullpen type mix, because you're going to need probably more starters than that. But perhaps that could be another emergency situation that the Dodgers do. There's a lot of moving pieces that the Dodgers have, but particularly when it comes to Roki Sasaki, at least in my head, and perhaps this is something because I have not seen him have a lot of success at the big league level, or at least as much success as I was anticipating going into the season. I remain really hesitant to say that the lack of success that he's had at the big league level is going to automatically translate to big league success when it matters most, when it matters in a postseason type of setting. I'd rather do that to somebody that I feel a little bit more confident in. Although certainly you can make the argument Roki Sasaki is pitching the best out of the bunch right now, and that's all the Dodgers should be focused on, is who is actually going out there and pitching the best. But I'm curious for you guys what you think about the situation, and who would you have as part of the Dodgers potential. Dodgers right now, its potential very likely is going to be, especially if the Dodgers win today, is going to be a wild card round for the Dodgers postseason berth at the big league level. Who would you have as far as your Dodgers postseason bullpen or roster in general, or who are some of your dark horses to be able to go and make the Dodgers roster during the postseason? Jeff says Kopech to the IL. That ends his season. I don't know exactly what injury he has. That very likely ends his season, but it's not a complete agreement or complete thing that is going to end his season, especially if there are injuries during the postseason and Michael Kopech can come back healthy. Let's not forget how good he was during the postseason last year. Obviously, this year, at least since when he's come back, and been way too wild and ineffective to earn a spot as part of this mix in the bullpen. But I won't necessarily rule it out completely unless there's been some updates as far as the injury updates concerned. CNAV, we went over what do you do with a guy like a Yates and a or what do you do with the Yates and a Kopech? Let's go with, I think that was just some interaction that we have right here. Sammy Boy Smith, San Diego, and the White Sox are 2-2 in the fourth. This is a little bit ago, so perhaps the score has updated. Though the Sox aren't winning that game, we'll see if they're able to do that. Hopefully the White Sox are able to pull through and just help the Dodgers be able to get to that number 3 seed. Jeff, he's gone now on the 50-day IL, so that ends his regular season. Absolutely. Let's see. Continuing with this right here. Couple more comments. Bruce, let's see, but I still believe that we can make the World Series. Bruce still believes that the Dodgers can be able to make the World Series. Absolutely. The Dodgers still have the talent to be able to make it in the World Series, and I think they still have a lot of pieces to be able to work with to help get them to that point. I think just because the regular season hasn't been as historic or as grand as what it has been in the past, doesn't neglect the fact that the Dodgers, assuming that they're in the wild card round, once they actually make the playoffs, are just 13 wins away from winning the World Series. And all you have to do is be able to win series. And sometimes talent can help get you to that point, especially with the Dodgers starting pitching staff that they have going. The starting staff is exactly what we would have hoped for getting to this point in the Dodgers season. And the Dodgers offense has the talent and some of the guys that have stepped up in big moments to the postseason to where they very well could step up during the postseason, gets hot, and go out there and make a run for it. They very much are still in contention and still very much going to be one of the teams to look out for winning the World Series, even if the Dodgers, for the past little bit, have not played the best. The talent very much is still there. Let's see. Sammy Boy Smith. We probably won't see Kopech again in a Dodgers uniform unless he takes a cheap one-year deal. Michael Kopech is a free agent after this year. We'll see what he is able to do after this. Same with Kirby Yates. He is also going to be a free agent after this season. We'll get into more of that during some of the off-season shows coming up. CNAB, my favorite part of Austin shows, the graphs. Same with Casey's Down on the Farm. Yeah, I tried to do some of the Down on the Farm stuff with Casey because obviously I spend a lot of time following some of those guys just with the way schedules work out. Not able to go down on the farm quite enough, but I do try to do a lot of different stuff to be able to help visualize a lot of the discussions that the Dodgers have, just because I think that's a little bit easier than following along with the conversation, because you lose track of it very easily if you talk about, okay, Emmett Sheehan's part of the bullpen, and Blake Trinan's part of the bullpen, and Alex Vesey is part of the bullpen, and Tanner Scott's part of the bullpen, and so on and so forth. Start to lose track, whereas if you actually see it and realize, hey, there's probably just one spot for a Kyle Hurt or a Roki Sasaki or a Kirby Yates and a Brock Stewart and a Justin Robleski. Then I think that becomes very fascinating conversations. Perhaps you can remove some of the names that I put as more of guys that I would trust in that mix and make some substitutions from there. But I think it provides a little bit of clear communication back and forth. So I try to do that for you guys, and I think that creates good, in-depth conversation. Let's see. Continuing on this, Bruce Davis, yeah, please, Austin, show Down on the Farm. Casey has a lot more access to a lot of the video footage, so he does a little bit better stuff, particularly with that. Although, during the course of the offseason, when Casey and I are able to do a lot more shows together, last offseason we did, I think, about 3 shows a week, him and I. Obviously, we have other people that are part of the mix here at Dodgers Dogs, and we're more than happy and grateful to be able to have them, so we'll try to incorporate them as well. But we'll be doing more shows together, and we'll be doing some down on the farm segments to where Casey is able to give his insight, but I'm also able to provide statistical and personal experience with a lot of these guys down on the farm as well. So we'll get into a lot of that during the course of the off-season with that. CNAB, very diverse channel, many coaches, analytics, and coverage from the single A, which was Rancho Cucamonga, which now's the time for the obvious shout out to the new Class A affiliate of your Los Angeles Dodgers. So for those of you who are unaware, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes had been an affiliate for the Dodgers for quite a while. They had been there. I actually don't remember the number of years that they had been there. Rancho Cucamonga is still going to be around. They will now be an Angels affiliate. The Inland Empire 66ers will now become a Seattle Mariners affiliate, and the Modesto Nuts are not part of the California League anymore because there is a brand new stadium being built right now and will be opening for the 2026 season. I can't encourage you guys to be able to go to this stadium enough and be able to show support for this team. First off, shout out and a huge thank you to the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes for everything that they have done and everything they have meant to the Dodgers organization and for the partnership that they've had with the Dodgers. I sincerely wish them nothing but the best being an affiliate with the Los Angeles Angels. But there's a new affiliate with the Dodgers, which means that if you go down the system, going backwards from the Dodgers, you go from the Dodgers to the Oklahoma City Comets, to the Tulsa Drillers, to the Great Lakes Loons, that's where I'm from, to the Ontario Tower Buzzers. The Ontario Tower Buzzers. If you are not aware or did not get a chance to be able to see any of this, this would be something that I very encourage you guys to be able to take a look at, be able to start looking into some of the affiliates of the Dodgers and be able to see some of that. We'll actually pull up, let's see if we can pull up some of the logos or some of the, yeah, we'll pull this up right here because you'll be able to see some of the hats and stuff that are available and some of the logos and stuff for the Ontario Tower Buzzers, which I believe are available right now for you guys. So if we look right here, Ontario Tower Buzzers, this is logo that they have right there, as well as some of the hats that you can get right now, which I believe are available for pre-sale right now. Also, you can look at some of the jerseys and stuff that are available for the Ontario Tower Buzzers. A little bit difficult to be able to say that, but they're going to be moving up and now are a part and an affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So congratulations to the city and the area around Ontario. Excited to be able to watch some of the Dodgers affiliate and get some of the guys from Ontario to be able to come up to Great Lakes over the course of the next season. But similar, I got to see Clayton Kershaw first season at the Loon be able to go out there and pitch for the Great Lakes Loons, and then the next season start his tremendous career for the Los Angeles Dodgers. You could see somebody like that start out in Ontario and make his journey and perhaps be the next big thing for the Los Angeles Dodgers. You can do it by wearing one of these sweet hats that they got. Check it out. Or if you want a Loons hat, go get yourself a Loons hat too. I do not get paid to say that. I do that just for fun. Let's go to a couple more of the comments that we have right here. Let's see. No Kershaw in the wild card round. It becomes a question of who do you want starting games during the course of the postseason? Who do you actually want starting those games over the course, especially during the wild card round? And I don't know if they go with Clayton Kershaw. And this very well could be dependent on the way that they're able to line up the scheduled starts. If we're talking about Clayton Kershaw, his next start after this very well could be next Friday in Seattle. That would probably be my guess, which means it becomes a little bit of a question mark as far as whether that would line up with the postseason start that he could potentially have in October. That's a little bit of a question mark up in the air. But as far as Kershaw pitching out of the bullpen, because I think they'll need starters later in the postseason, assuming that they go on, I don't really know if I would necessarily do that. CNAV says Robo over Banda. I'm not there at this point, only because, and this could be the one main argument that I have for Anthony Banda, is his ability to be able to get left-handed hitters out. I think that's absolutely elite. I think you can make the exact same argument for Justin Wrobleski to be part of the postseason bullpen. And in fact, on the show on Monday, I made arguments, and Casey and I have gone back and forth, especially with the struggles that Tanner Scott has had during his tenure with the Dodgers, to have a merit system and to put Justin Wrobleski in the postseason bullpen over even a guy like a Tanner Scott. I don't think that's likely. I think it's more likely that they choose an Anthony Banda in the bullpen. OPS against left-handed hitters for Anthony Banda is a 5.11, which is absolutely lethal and elite, and he very well is going to be a weapon that the Dodgers use pretty heavily against a guy like for example, if they play the Mets, a Juan Soto. He's going to be a weapon against them. That's why I think they put Banda into the postseason bullpen. Let's get to a couple of these. Ohtani doesn't count towards the 13 since he's a two-way player. That's absolutely right. Also says no Yates or Stewart for me. Totally fair based off what we've seen, especially for Yates. And then Stewart, not really seen a whole lot for him yet as well. Let's see. CNAV Sheehan should be on every playoffs roster from now on. Absolutely. I think he absolutely has earned that as part of that mix. And then gets into the discussion about rushing and losing his backup spot to Ben Vortvet, who has been absolutely phenomenal. Rushing, by the way, is starting the game tonight for Kershaw's last home start. And I'm sure during the course of the offseason, we're going to talk about a lot with Dalton Rushing, what his role and what the organization should do about him going forward. Let's see. Sheehan has been great. Absolutely with that. We'll get to a couple more comments. We won't keep on too long just because I want to make sure that we get off before the Dodgers game actually starts. CNAV wants Hae-Sung Kim for his speed on the bases and versatility. CNAV also says Austin Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow in that order. I don't know exactly what the postseason rotation is. I threw those guys into the mix only because that was where the three easy to be able to copy over to that mix, and I just wanted to throw three starters over there just to throw three starters over there. It very well could be two with Shohei Ohtani part of the mix. One of the things that it's going to be dependent on is how they utilize their starters over the course of the next week and a half, how they're able to provide rest, and how much rest is actually needed between starts. How are you going to be able to maximize Yoshi Yamamoto with the amount of rest that he needs? Or a Shohei Ohtani. It's very likely that a Shohei Ohtani could start game one of a wild card round so that he could potentially be available out of the bullpen in a game 3, or so that he could be available for a game 3 or 4 during the division series round. Those are a lot of interesting, difficult things that the Dodgers are going to have to figure out, and I don't know how the rest is going to be able to fill out yet, and I think it would be more dependent on that as opposed to this guy's better than the others, so we can go ahead and make it work out how they have. That is a luxury if the Dodgers can clinch the division before they play against Seattle. If they don't, and they still are fighting for the division against the Seattle Mariners, they're going to be subject to, based off of the schedule that the pitchers have and that they're going to be going up against in that series. But they have to take care of business and get it to where a luxury to where they can decide. I just threw three starters as part of this mix, and I'm not entirely certain as far as how I would go. CNF says Yamamoto, Snell, then Glasnow, which is reiterated by some of the comments that we have. Yang Yi, thank you very much for joining us. Padres losing 4-2 against the White Sox. Yang Yi, Dodgers versus Phillies will be the World Series in the postseason, similar to Dodgers versus Padres last year. We'll see what happens right there. I think if the Dodgers get past that, they have a really, really good chance of going back-to-back this season. It was said on Dodgers Nation that it ended his season for a Michael Kopech. If that is the case, then we won't be seeing Michael Kopech the rest of the season. I'll wait to see official reports on my end, but I also take you at your word that it's unlikely, perhaps, that we will be seeing him the rest of the season. Let's see. Clayton Kershaw would have signed with another team for at least 2 more years at a high level, where he very well could be pitching more over the course of the season. Mariners or Astros in the World Series. M's can win it if their hitters stay warm, hot, and their average bullpen gets a little luck, Sammy Boy Smith says. Ontario Tower Buzzers remind me of the movie Top Gun. Absolutely. Let's see. And then it looks like some of the pregame stuff is happening on Apple TV. So, and just going through some of the score. It's going through some of the scores and stuff that are happening right now. So, again, tonight on Apple TV, Clayton Kershaw is going to be taking the mound for the last time in the regular season at Dodger Stadium. There very likely will be at least one more start after this that will happen on the road. And then his role becomes very much a question mark during October. But it is now official from Clayton Kershaw that 2025 will be the last season of his professional career at the in Major League Baseball and for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And for what he has done, what he has meant, and for everything in relation to him in Dodgers baseball, I think you're going to see this during the broadcast tonight. A massive thank you is well deserved to Clayton Kershaw for everything that he has done, top to bottom, in this organization. I thank you from myself for somebody who can help connect me with some of the people in my life, from seeing him back before he was playing with the Dodgers to seeing all the success that he has had throughout the course of the season, to the way he's interacted with people, to the way he interacted with Casey, as treating him as someone who was equal when he was talking to him in Oklahoma City, as he would to people in Los Angeles, to the way that he has pitched, what he has thrown, and what he has meant in the community in Los Angeles. A huge thank you cannot be addressed to a once-in-a-generation player, a Hall of Fame, a pitcher that helped define the era of baseball that he was in, to Clayton Kershaw. Thank you for what you've done for Los Angeles, and I look forward to being able to watch the game tonight. Dodgers versus the San Francisco Giants. A win, I believe, clinches a postseason spot for the Dodgers, would help push the Giants back in their postseason berth, and would send Clayton Kershaw in the regular season in a Dodgers uniform out with a win. That is what is on the line tonight. Game starts in a little under an hour. Thank you all for tuning in. I look forward to being able to interact with you again soon. I don't believe possible that Casey and I could do a show tomorrow, live show tomorrow. I don't know for sure. If not, I will be seeing you guys again on Monday afternoon at 2:15 Pacific. Casey, I'm sure, will be doing some sort of live show at the very least on Sunday. I can't make it on Sundays. I got to go to church all day on Sunday. And so I will be unavailable for that show. But until next time that I'm able to interact with you guys, thank you very much. God bless, and go Dodgers.